Tonight we speak to parents and teachers as students return to school, families to get vouchers for after-school care, businesses fired up over JobSaver, and Rafael Nadal's stunning comeback. Details next. Tonight, family tragedy. A father and his young son drown while rock fishing.
Last-minute preparations for the mass return to school and hundreds of dollars in vouchers headed for parents.
A husband questioned after a woman's body is found in a bath full of chemicals.
The federal government confronted by COVID protesters and a dire opinion poll.
And what a win! Rafael Nadal makes tennis history in a marathon Australian Open final.
This is NBN News.
Good evening. An horrific scene for lifesavers and locals in Sydney's southeast, with a father and his 9-year-old son drowning at Little Bay just hours ago.
The pair were rock fishing when the boy was swept into the ocean, his dad jumping in to try and rescue him.
A warm summer's day and just after 3 o'clock, an horrific chain of events at Little Bay Beach. A 9-year-old boy was rock fishing with his father.
The final consignments of rapid antigen tests have been handed out as thousands of New South Wales students prepare to go back to the classroom. The state government is now looking to lighten the load on parents who have struggled through 2 years of juggling work and at-home learning.
The slow trickle of students through gates across Sydney. Our Lady of Mercy College in Parramatta, one of a handful of independent schools resuming today, is the next big test. Sophie Walsh, NBN News.
Hundreds of protesters have been locked in a standoff with police on the steps of federal parliament, angry at vaccine mandates and restrictions. But the coalition should be worried about a much wider and growing disaffection with the government.
An angry crowd pressed against the doors of Parliament. Is going to need another. Chris Ullman, NBN News.
Rapid antigen tests remain hard to come by in the Hunter, but local pharmacies are banding together to share stock. It comes as parents had their last day to secure tests ahead of the return to school. Claudia Vodoljak joins us now. Claudia, it's been a bit of a rush today.
It has, Tash. Parents have been rolling up to school gates all day, picking up those sought-after kits. And for the general public, there's hope that these tests could be made more accessible. I'm told a local pharmacy has secured a strong supplier and is happily sharing stock with others. As for schools, there's enough for 2 tests a week per staff and students for a month as the government plans its next step. Tash.
Putting a disrupted school year behind them and starting fresh. Claudia Vodoljak, NBN News.
A Mayfield man is behind bars tonight, accused of robbing the Iron Horse Hotel at Cardiff last week. 33-year-old Nathan Paul is the second man charged over the alleged incident. Detectives also allege Paul was involved in a separate robbery at Stockton. A Central Coast body modifier convicted over a woman's death following a procedure has broken down in court while applying for bail. Brendan Russell today said he's been isolated for weeks and hasn't even seen his newborn son.
Brendan Russell's 11 weeks behind bars have been marred by COVID, isolation and lockdowns. Russell will be sentenced in 5 weeks. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
Let's take a quick look at the weather across the Hunter today. It was certainly a warm one. We've seen temperatures climb into the high 20s and low 30s throughout parts of the valley.
Coming up after the break, police investigate after a wallaby is found in horrific circumstances in Lake Macquarie.
Relief for one of our Winter Olympians who initially tested positive for COVID.
And Rafael Nadal celebrates his 21st Grand Slam title. Police investigating reports of possible domestic violence have made the worst possible discovery, a young woman's body in a bathtub of chemicals. Tonight, her husband is being questioned by homicide detectives.
Suiting up in forensics, gloves and even breathing apparatus, no amount of protection could shield emergency crews from the confronting scene inside this North Parramatta unit. Sophie Upcroft, NBN News.
An orphaned wallaby is slowly bouncing back after an act of animal cruelty at Lake Macquarie. Police are still piecing together what happened as wildlife carers dedicate hour after hour to the little one's recovery. And a warning, some of the details in this story are confronting.
He might be cosy enough, but even the softest of fabrics aren't the same as Mum's pouch. This little wallaby is now known as Warrior to his carers, and for good reason.
Last night's game face was today replaced by a beaming smile as Rafael Nadal soaked up, coming from 2 sets down to win the Australian Open. And it took all of his remaining energy to cart around that big silver trophy today.
The Spaniard, the crowd favourite, and the greatest.
Let's get excited about the weather. Taking a quick look now, where there's a lot going on right around the country as our region continues to enjoy hot, mostly sunny conditions. We have an even hotter first day of the new month tomorrow and final month of the season. Now, likely to see a few more isolated storms inland over the northern ranges in the afternoon. The 30-degree plus temperatures will be coming to an end with a significant change on the way in the coming days. More details on that development later in the bulletin.
Coming up after the break, news that's hard to swallow, why the price of tap beer is going up.
Forget yelling and screaming, the angry driver who unloaded with a handgun.
And just what prompted this man to pay for his petrol in his birthday suit.
Help is on the way for the people of Cooperative, the South Australian opal mining town that's found itself an island in the desert cut off by floodwater. The Defence Force is doing food drops there today and tomorrow.
They're highly trained, they're highly motivated, and, we are very proud of the work they do.
Cooperative is cut off from both Adelaide and the Northern Territory. In some places, more than a metre of water covers the Stewart Highway.
19 people have been killed in Brazil when torrential rain triggered flooding and landslides in the state of Sao Paulo. Overflowing rivers spilled into the streets, the dangerous conditions forcing 500,000 families out of their homes.
3 people have died in the United States after a storm swept through parts of the northeast. The cold blast buried cities in up to 75 centimetres of snow and left more than 100,000 people without power. Russia has deployed fighter jets to Ukraine's northeastern border, effectively encircling the country. Those near the front line worry of psychological damage to their children and fear they may not survive the conflict.
On the snowy streets of Popasna in eastern Ukraine, an old yellow bus pulls into view. We are trying to give them a good childhood.
And this week the UK will be stepping up its intervention in the crisis. Prime Minister Boris Johnson is set to visit the region and hold crisis talks with Vladimir Putin, at the same time as considering ramping up troop numbers in Eastern Europe and warning of tough new sanctions, these ones targeting Russian banks, energy companies and oligarchs close to the Kremlin. Gav?
Finally get a hint on where official interest rates are headed when the Reserve Bank meets tomorrow for the first time this year. Economists expect them to jump by August, leaving borrowers facing some tough choices.
For the Kandasamy family, buying their apartment in December was both exciting and worrying.
Commonwealth Bank customers are being warned about a convincing new scam. A fake email is circulating asking users for their login, personal details and credit card information by pretending their account is locked or suspended. Customers are urged not to click on any links, to delete the email and report it to ScamWatch. To finance now, and the ASX finished the day's trading 0.2% lower. Ansell's share price plummeted after the gloves and protective clothing manufacturer downgraded its earnings by up to 28%. Tonight, one Aussie dollar is trading at a little more than 70 US cents.
Tomorrow we'll see the biggest tax hike on tap beer in a decade. Drinkers currently pay 60 cents tax on an average $7 full-strength schooner. The ATO will increase that by 1.5 cents in line with the Consumer Price Index. Australia has the 4th highest beer tax in the world after Norway, Finland And Japan. The industry is demanding a tax cut after COVID lockdowns.
Well, it's easy to forget your mask when paying for petrol, but this bloke forgot his clothes as well. A customer at a BP in Sydney's eastern suburbs filled up at the Bowser and entered the servo naked, but for a pair of shades and sandals. The incident happened last Thursday and police say they've had no complaints to date. It sounds like one of those dreams you have. Doesn't it, when you're heading off to work and you forget? Anyway.
Oh, I don't have many of those.
Glad we didn't.
Yes, let's throw to sport now with Mitch.
Mitch Raffer's still smiling tonight.
He certainly is. His opponent is not. Thanks, team. After the break, Daniil Medvedev threatens to skip Wimbledon and the French Open. The Matildas sent packing at the Asian Cup, and a historic moment for women's surfing. Rafa can't wipe the smile off his face, but Daniil Medvedev feels burned by his Australian Open experience. The Russian star claims he may skip Wimbledon and the French Open to play more tennis at home after the crowd turned on him at Melbourne Park.
Downcast and defeated, Daniil Medvedev's fortnight as the pantomime villain had taken a toll.
For a bloke who's worn the club's colours since birth, there's no higher honour for Cam Murray than being named Rabbitohs captain. At 24, he's one of the most damaging forwards on the NRL field, a respected role model off it, and it turns out he's also good at keeping secrets.
A moment Cam Murray will never forget, being asked to lead the famous South Sydney Rabbitohs.
In just a moment, late heartbreak for the Jets in their COVID comeback.
This report brought to you by Sportsbet's new Bet with Mates. Start your group, bet together and share the moment. Try it today with Sportsbet.
It produced one of the great finishes, but cricket fans could be waiting years for another women's test match in Australia. The Jets' loss sees them drop to last on the ladder, but they have plenty of games in hand and won't have to wait long for a chance to atone, hosting Brisbane on Thursday night. Newcastle dominated the first half last night, but Muswellbrook's Bridie Parker would be an ideal signing for the inaugural Knights women's team, but don't expect her to be in a Newcastle jersey anytime soon. She's preparing for her third season with the Roosters and is solely focused on helping the Tricolours win their first NRLW title.
She's the star from Muswellbrook who's inspiring girls in the Upper Hunter to chase their dreams.
The likelihood of 2 NRLWs proposed is just unreal.
The girls look like they're having plenty of fun as well.
It's great to see it coming together, isn't it?
Certainly is.
Thank you, Mitch.
All right, weather is coming up next. Hot and humid conditions, but a big change is closing in. Warm and humid conditions to end January. February is going to be even hotter, but a big change is closing in. First of all, this evening's weather photo to begin the proceedings. A southerly came through today and it's very humid. So much so that moisture content in the air mass was pushed up and over that cliff and it produced that lovely little lenticular cloud formation. Thank you to super nurse Sandra Fallon for that fabulous photo. Let's take a look at the rain and where it came down over the past 24 hours. The big falls continue right throughout the northwest and across the territory. We've seen a very active time also right throughout southern New South Wales and Victoria. A few storms flaring up again throughout this afternoon around the ranges, but we're generally in between the weather systems. A lot of monsoon moisture over central Australia. Hot and humid there. It's cold down here and there's a lovely low just off the coast. Now that low is generating swell, but enjoy tomorrow because everything is going to close in. That trough line moving towards us. The cold air is going to collide with that hot humid air. We'll see the wet weather ramp up, showers and thunderstorms. So there's those very warm temperatures to the north and to the south, really quite cold. Storms again right throughout central northern Australia. Perth enjoying some beautiful conditions. For us today, well, very warm overnight. Some storms there tracking over the mountain areas around the Wadigans. Temperatures reach the low 30s right throughout the Upper Hunter. We've got another very much summer's day on the way, but look at these hot temperatures. They will linger overnight because of that humidity count, again, making for what has been consistently hot summer nights. The winds, you can see light and variable, but on the thermoscale, temperatures really ramping up because it is going to be quite calm throughout tomorrow. And then in the afternoon, the likelihood of isolated shower and potential storm development yet again. So temperatures likely to crack the 30-degree mark for just about everyone. Temperatures into the low 30s from the Central Coast around the lake area to Newcastle, Port Stephens. Then, the further you are inland, temperatures climbing into the low to mid-30s, cloud increasing and the likelihood of that afternoon shower. And as I said, potential storm development embedded in that during the afternoon. Swell. No shortage of that. Plenty of it. 2.5 metres. That'll be thumping through during tomorrow. Looking pretty good leading up to that high tide tomorrow morning at 6:15. So back to the low in the afternoon at 4. Sun to rise at 6:15. Down again at 7. Let's take a look at this forecast. It's all coming to a crashing end here. We've got that wet weather. They're ramping up somewhat. Wednesday into Thursday. Onshore winds, cloud. And there's quite a lot of cool air in this. So temperatures really dropping there. You can see from Thursday onwards, particularly throughout the valley. So here comes the wet weather for all, including the upper Hunter there, particularly Wednesday as that change moves through. Similar for the Central Coast, Gosford, also showers following suit in behind that system. And a significant temperature drop as well. So February not quite looking as pretty, but we're going to see a very nice day for board riders tomorrow. It is going to be absolutely cranking. We've got solid swell at the moment hitting the coast, and we should have some offshores. There's been a few banks around as well. The water temperature's been up. Those southerlies helping to make for some very warm ocean temperatures, so quite comfortable out there. But tomorrow, I'd say it's going to be a cracking morning. Should be a super sesh there tomorrow if you're able to grab hold of it, make the most of it, because a pretty ordinary period is on the way afterwards.
Not very happy about that.
No.
Thank you, Gav. That is NBN News for this Monday. A current affair is coming up next, and we'll also have updates throughout the evening. From all of us here, good night.